Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic, the all open forum discussion show here on the John Campea channel, coming to you live from my brand new studio. Now, as it is a brand new studio, you guys, I've had a couple of you guys mention you can hear a little bit of reverb in the room. That's because the studio's not full yet. There's still not a lot of stuff in here, so sound is bouncing around. I apologize for the audio quality, guys. I will do my best to get that fixed in the next couple of weeks as we go. So, this is the show where all we do is take live questions. Now, on the John Campea show, we save a little bit of time for some live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do, live questions the whole show. And like I said, I've been moving. Well, I'm tired. Even just this morning, Ann and I were still running over to the old place and picking up some new things. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have any shampoo here. And so we had to run over to the other place and grab shampoo. Fortunately, we only moved a block. Like, we literally moved about a block and a half. But in the new place, very excited. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's dive into the first question of the day. And the first question today comes to us from Micah T. And Micah T writes, have you thought at all about how the MCU will incorporate the X-Men? Feige hasn't let me down yet, so I trust him, but I think it will be tough. Oh no, it will be tough. It'll be incredibly tough because there are certain challenges that they're going to face. If this deal ever goes through, and it's not a 100% certainty that it will, keep that in mind. And Kevin Feige at this point has said he's not even going to think about it until that deal goes through. Until we have a finished deal, then he'll think about it. So until that time, he's not going to worry about it, and I can understand his way of thinking. Business as usual for now. But how do you incorporate the X-Men? It presents a couple of challenges. First challenge is this, and this is the main challenge. If you don't want to reboot them, okay, and they will probably reboot, but if they don't, how do you explain mutants being around for 50 years and never being mentioned in the MCU? It's too big of a phenomenon for it not to be mentioned in the MCU. It's too big of a phenomena not to be mentioned in the Sokovia Accords. It presents a continuity problem for MCU. Now, Fox, continuity schmontinuity, they've never cared about continuity, so that's fine, but the MCU has cared about continuity. So see, the advantage that Fox has about having a continuity schmontinuity attitude is that every movie they do now, they don't have to adhere to continuity, and it's perfectly fine. The MCU has made concerted efforts to have a sense of solid continuity. And as such now, you can't just throw that away because it's going to feel real jarring if you do. The only option I really see them having, and there are probably many other options, I'm just saying this is the only one I really see that as a clear and obvious potential solution, is this. Say that the mutant phenomenon, mutation, is a new thing. There have been whispers about it for about 3 or 4 or 5 years. There have been whispers about it, but it's just now coming to fruition. Maybe you have a Professor Charles Xavier who has been a mutant for 10 or 15 years, but he's been keeping everything really, really quiet. But now mutant phenomena is becoming known. For a little while, it was camouflaged by the fact that you have all this other metahuman activity, that mutation was able to stay hidden and camouflaged, but now it's a new thing. So it's going to be a challenge. But then what do you do with Magneto's backstory? Well, Magneto can't come out of Auschwitz anymore because then he'd be far too old in the current present time to have a significant Magneto character, and you got to have a Magneto character. So you got to rewrite. Anyway, lots of challenges. We could sit here and talk about it for the next 15, 20 minutes, but we've got a lot of other questions to get to, so we need to move on. But that is one of the big challenges they're going to be facing if this deal ever goes through. All right, next thing comes to us from Karthik Rao, who writes, is the premiere of Infinity War you're going to in IMAX, since it is the first movie to be completely shot in the new IMAX cameras? Yes. Actually, it's funny. I just found out yesterday. They did the same thing to us with the Star Wars The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi premiere, where we got the invitation, but it didn't tell us specifically where it was going to be held. They kept that secret. And then it was just yesterday that I got my follow-up email from them telling me where it is. And where it is has, the IMAX projection system. So yes, it will be an IMAX when I see. So I'm going to be really, and I believe it's going to be 2D, not 3D, which yay, I hate 3D. So I'm really happy about that. So yes, it will be on an IMAX screen that I'm seeing it on. Let's see here. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, Do you think at one point Affleck's inner filmmaker mind saw the DCEU plan and scratched the back of his head saying, I don't know, I don't think this will work? Probably, but here's the thing. Every good filmmaker will probably look at something and goes, I don't know if this will work, and then try to figure out ways to improve. That's probably what a good storyteller does. A good storyteller could probably look at the greatest script ever and go, about certain things, because their minds are always thinking about how to tell a better story, how to tell a better story, how to tell a better story. So I'm sure Affleck did. But that's not necessarily a negative thing on the DCU. Plus, I firmly believe that the scripts and the pitches for the DCU films probably came across better than what the final product ended up being. Like, I'm somebody who, I've liked every single DCEU movie. I've given positive reviews to every single DCEU movie. But I know, just because I like them doesn't mean I don't acknowledge there's room for improvement. They could have been better. Certainly could have been better. But I've got a feeling that there are films that probably on the script and in the pitch probably came across better in their pitch and in the script than it did on screen. And that happens all the time. That happens all the time. So did Affleck probably think that way at some point? Yes, but that's not an indictment on it, because I think that's what most good storytellers do with any script they see. It will instantly feel reservation, and their minds are automatically trying to think of ways to tell better stories. So yes, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, number Thor writes, do you think we will ever get an E.T. remake or sequel? Sequel, no. I believe I've heard Steven Spielberg say definitively he never wants a sequel done, which is too bad, because when you think about E.T., it is kind of set up in a way that you could do a sequel. You know, they come back. Elliot's a grown man now, and they come back just like he said. Like, I don't know. There are ways to do it, but from my understanding, Spielberg is like 100%, I never want an E.T. sequel done. So there's that. I don't think I've ever heard him say, it can never be rebooted. That's possible, but again, I think, understanding Spielberg, I have my doubts. And ain't no studio wants to piss off Steven Spielberg. He's one of the only filmmakers in the world that studios probably don't want to piss him off. So I'm going to guess no, although I got to say I would be open to both. I would be open to a sequel because of the reasons we already explained, and I'd be open to it. And look, don't give me this, it'll ruin the original. No, it won't. Even if they do a sequel, even if they do a reboot, and it ends up being the smelliest pile of crap in the world, it will not affect the original. The original is still there. It doesn't get changed. You can still watch it and enjoy it as it is. So don't give me that bullshit argument of, it'll ruin the original. No, it won't. Doesn't matter how bad it is, it won't ruin the original. So just keep that in mind. All right, Phil Lee writes, theory is that Colossus is punching Juggernaut in the last Deadpool 2 trailer. I hope so. Vinnie Jones's version was bad. Faith and Reynolds rebooting characters. Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. I actually didn't mind Vinnie Jones's Juggernaut. Maybe it's because I'm such a big Vinnie Jones fan that I didn't mind his incarnation of Juggernaut all that much. I mean, in certain incarnations in the comic book, Vinnie Jones's Juggernaut was pretty spot on with some incarnations. It certainly wasn't the Juggernaut from the X-Men Apocalypse storyline. Certainly that wasn't, I mean, in the comics, the Age of Apocalypse, I should say. That certainly wasn't the Juggernaut from Age of Apocalypse, but it was a Juggernaut from a couple of other iterations. That being said, look, Ryan Reynolds, everybody knows I am a massive Ryan Reynolds fan. I think the dude deserved an Academy Award for Buried. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I don't mean that facetiously. He deserved an Academy Award nomination for Buried. Like him by himself in a box for an entire movie, and he made it compelling. Crazy good. Anyway, and what he's done with Deadpool speaks for itself. I don't know, though, that I have faith in Ryan Reynolds to reboot other characters. Because Deadpool, and watching Deadpool 2 will go a long way, because in Deadpool 2, we're getting Bedlam, we're getting Shatterstar, we're getting Domino, we're getting Cable. We're going to see what he can do with these other characters. What I know is that he can do Deadpool. That we know. I don't know if he can give us a good representation that's not a slapstick comedy representation of other characters. I just don't know. I'm not saying he can't, obviously. I'm just saying I don't know yet. Once we see Deadpool 2, I'll have a much better idea. I'm having my doubts. I know that's the popular theory right now, that's Juggernaut. I have my doubts. I don't see how he fits in. But, I mean, it might be. I'm not precluding the possibility of it whatsoever. It very well could be. I'm just saying I have my doubts at this moment, but we'll have to wait and see. Karthik Rao writes, can you give us a tour of your new studio? Really not much of a tour. Well, I can't right now because I don't have a separate camera set up. Not much of a tour. I mean, I put up a picture of it on Instagram the other day. It's pretty simple, but one of these days soon, I will walk through. I'll show you each piece of gear that I use, each piece of equipment that I use to make the show possible. And you'd be surprised. There's very few pieces of equipment in here that are expensive. Like I use gear. I'm pretty frugal. And this is why I was able to make AMC Movie News do what it did, was because I did things that million-dollar operations were doing, but I did them at 1/10 of the cost. Because myself, and I had Dennis working with me, of course, and Dennis is really good at this too. Like we were able to figure out ways to use like much cheaper equipment, much cheaper setups. Like we were doing things that took 8 person crews, and we were doing it with 1 person, and I kind of bring that into my show. Like I'm able to do a live show, take live questions, stream graphics, switch graphics, all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 with 1 person hosting, being the floor director, being all that kind of stuff at the same time and doing it live. So I will, one of these days, I will walk around, I'll show each piece of equipment, why I use each piece of equipment that I use, why I chose that piece of equipment, what function it serves, how cheap you can get it for, all that kind of stuff. I'll probably do that one of these days. Mr. Spider 336 writes, Iron Spider hot toy looks amazing. That's getting got. I think it looks stupid. I'll be honest, I think it looks stupid. I'm very alone in that thought, by the way. And I acknowledge I'm very alone in that thought. I know people love it. I think it's ridiculous and stupid. But that's just me. Take that as you will. I hate everything about Iron Spider. I hate this notion that we have to devalue Spider-Man so much that the only way to make him cool is to make him Iron Man Jr. That just bothers me. And it's going to bother me in Infinity War. No matter how amazing, and Infinity War is going to be amazing. No matter how amazing Infinity War is, the Iron Man Jr. bit is going to really bother me. So, oh well. Muse Tac Reviews writes, morning, John, 2 a.m. here in Australia. Oh my God, 2 a.m. there? You are dedicated, dude. Good morning to you. I hope you get to go to bed soon, man. Jedi Knight and friend of Captain Solo writes, per CNN, Allison Mack from Smallville arrested for helping to recruit victims for a cult involving slaves and human trafficking. Scary stuff. Yeah, it is scary stuff. It's scary accusations and allegations right now. I will say I'm not going to get too carried away about it till I know more information. It is sad because it's Allison Mack from Smallville. She's so sweet and adorable and cute, and she's allegedly running sex trafficking, and that's no good. That's bad. Again, I'm not going to get too worked up about it until I know what the details are. But I mean, it's certainly not good, and it's certainly upsetting to hear for sure, man. It's difficult to hear that. Mr. Spider 336 writes, the scores in the Raimi trilogy are magnificent. Yes, they are actually. You know what? Even in Spider-Man 3, and you don't often get a chance to talk about good things in Spider-Man 3. But even in Spider-Man 3, I thought the scores were pretty damn good. It was kind of iconic. The music instantly took you there. It enhanced the scenes. It did everything a good score should do. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the Spider-Man themes in Raimi's movies were quite good. Joshua Stevens writes, just saw that there was an Easter egg in Wonder Woman for the movie Black Hawk. Thoughts? Don't care. It was completely irrelevant and throwaway, so even if it's true, I mean, it's irrelevant, so honestly, I don't care. I mean, it's cool if you saw it, and it's cool that the filmmaker would put something a little like that in there. That's great, but to me, it doesn't really mean anything. Muse Tac Reviews writes, how excited are you for the upcoming Halloween film? Zero excitement. I don't care. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to go in and watch it for sure. But I have zero excitement. I think the Halloween franchise is the most overrated franchise in horror history. I know, there, I said it. I don't care. That's my opinion. Again, I know I'm in the minority on that. I'm in the minority on Halloween, and I'm in the vast minority on Blade Runner. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. I think the first Halloween is drastically, grossly overrated. But hey, I acknowledge I'm in the minority. I acknowledge a lot of people love it, proclaim it as a masterpiece. I think it's really interesting what they're doing. I think I like the philosophy they're taking with this new one. It's interesting. But honestly, I have no excitement for it. Doesn't mean the movie's not going to be great and I'm not going to love it. I may love it, but as of right now, no excitement for it. Jed Jensen writes, thoughts on Chappaquiddick? It reminds me of Shattered Glass, as it told two sides of a scandal, the difference being that SG was much less ambiguous. I have not watched it yet. I mean, this week has just been too busy. I'm actually planning on seeing it tomorrow. It's one of those films that has just had to be pushed aside for everything else I had going on, not the least of which was moving. And we're still not completely moved in and still not completely settled. So unfortunately, even that's what was one of my most anticipated movies of the month. I just wasn't able to get out and see it yet. So I'm planning on seeing it tomorrow, and then I'll have some thoughts on it. But as of right now, I haven't seen it. But I've heard great things about it. I've heard absolutely great things about it. Dark Knight 146K writes, morning, Campea. Good morning. Next week, couldn't get here quick enough. Seeing Infinity War Thursday night, Friday afternoon, then Saturday, graduating college, then seeing Infinity War again, and Sunday, seeing Infinity War. It's a good plan. I am seeing it in, let's see, it's Saturday. So 48 hours from now will be 9 a.m. on Monday. So where am I at here? 55 hours from now, I believe. I'm not going to sit down and do the math. Roughly 55 hours from now, I am watching Infinity War. Seeing it Monday, super stoked. I'm so excited to see this movie. I am just absolutely beside myself. I can't even begin it. And it is a countdown. And it's telling about how excited everybody is for this movie by the fact that we're talking about college graduation, and yet the first thing in your mind right now is Infinity War. That says a lot about the anticipation level for this movie, and we are all just collectively counting down, right? It feels like the entire film fan community right now is just counting down the minutes together, right? It's like New Year's Eve in Times Square with 10, 9, 8. Like, we're all just kind of counting down for it. So first of all, big congrats for college graduation, man. That's amazing. It's a great feat and a great accomplishment. Well done. And I'm really stoked that you're so stoked to see Infinity War 2. Muztak Reviews writes, thoughts on Scream TV series? Never watched it. Couldn't be bothered to watch it, so I have no opinion on it. Sorry about that, man. Chris Martin, favorite genre of movies? Well, anything sci-fi. Anything sci-fi-ish, and I guess that kind of overlaps into comic book movies as well, but like, I'm just a sucker for sci-fi. I've always been a big, big sucker for sci-fi. And since most, comic book movies kind of overlap a little bit into sci-fi, that includes those as well. But yeah, and that probably stems from the fact that Star Wars was my earliest childhood memory. So probably a lot of that stems from there as well. But yeah, for me, sci-fi is my favorite genre. But don't get me wrong, I mean, there's tons of genres that I love. Heist movies, period pieces, like true event mystery stuff, like all types of really good ones. But sci-fi is the one I get suckered into the most for sure. Let's see here. Joshua Stevens writes, huge NBA fan. Who do you have in the finals? Oh, that's tough. I'm going Houston Rockets, barring any injuries. I don't think Golden State can beat Houston this year. I'll just be frank about that. There's something not right this year about the Golden State Warriors. You could see it all year. They're dominant and they're amazing still, but this isn't the same team from last year. Like, last year, everything was firing on all cylinders for them, and they looked dominant and unstoppable. Even when they lost, it always felt like the other team just got lucky winning. But they were a force of nature. This year, all year, you could just tell something wasn't right. And it could very well be them in the Western Conference Finals. But Houston, when Houston is firing on all cylinders, they cannot be beat this year. I think, there's a lot of different teams that if they're at their best are very difficult to beat. I believe this right now. The Houston Rockets, if every team in the NBA is playing at their maximum potential, Houston wins the NBA Finals this year. I believe the finals are going to be Houston and Toronto Raptors. Now, some of you have said to me, John, I thought you said that Toronto can't beat Cleveland. I'm not so sure Cleveland's going to get to play Toronto. So yeah, right now my finals predictions are Houston versus the Toronto Raptors. That's my call right now. Chris Martin writes, tour of the new studio. It'll come. A tour of the new studio will come. There's not much of a tour to have. It's one big room, but I'll do it at some point. Dakota Barber writes, congrats on the move, John. Thank you so much. What do you think of Screen Rant as a movie news source? I find them to be very unreliable, especially compared to Variety. No, they are completely unreliable. Here's what I'll say about Screen Rant. Now, that does not mean they're not a good site to read. Let me straighten this out here. Back in the day, when Screen Rant was created by and run by this dude named Vic Holterman. Vic Holterman, who I consider a friend. Vic did such a good job with that site. He made Screen Rant by sheer force of will. Now, he had other talented people too, but part of his doing it was assembling a great group of people. He was the architect of all of it. He made it happen. Yes, you had Kofi, who did a great job. He had many other great writers and stuff like that, but that was part of Vic's machinations. Vic is the one who brought them all together, made that thing, and it was reliable, it was solid, it was entertaining, it was great. Vic did if there was a Hall of Fame for online movie stuff, Vic Holterman belongs in that Hall of Fame. Now, he sold the site to this larger corporation. And let me be very clear about this. To me, Screen Rant is still a very entertaining site. They do some really interesting articles and do some very, very cool things. However, as a news site, they're not reliable. Because what I have seen Screen Rant do, and this is just my opinion, is, and a great example of this is the whole Hugh Jackman is going to be Scar in Lion King. Screen Rant was the site that perpetuated that myth. Because this is what Screen Rant does now. They find any tiny blog out there anywhere that says anything. Like, literally, they'll take a blog that gets 50 readers a month. And if they write something that sounds like a good headline, Screen Rant will run that as a headline. And that's what happened with the Hugh Jackman thing is Scar. There was some little obscure site that because they got a picture of Hugh Jackman at Disneyland the day before the announcement, the cast announcement of Lion King, some little site ran a headline, Hugh Jackman's going to be Scar. And Screen Rant, because that little tiny site, they used that as a pretext to run their own headline, Hugh Jackman is going to be Scar in Lion King. And I've seen them do that multiple times since then. So, I do not think they are a reliable news site at all. However, that doesn't mean they're not a valuable site to the online film fan community. They do a lot of stuff good still. They really do. They write some really fun articles. They do a lot of very interesting things. So even though I don't think they're a reliable news site, you shouldn't, anything that's breaking news, don't believe it from Screen Rant. However, I still have them as a part of my daily news feed, like as part of my RSS feed, my reading list every day. I read Screen Rant, at least peruse their headlines every day because they're still, I believe, a valuable contributor to the online film fan community. There's something they don't do very well, but there's other things they do very well as well. And that's true of every news site, including me. There are things I do well, there are things I don't do well, right? So no, they're not reliable for news, but yes, I think they're a valuable addition to the online film fan community, and I have them on my reading list, and I encourage other people to have them on the reading list too. They're not as good of a site now as when they were under Vic Holterman, but they're still a good site and they do some interesting things. That's my thought. Anyway, let's see. So don't confuse them with the Variety. They don't even try to be Variety. Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, they're totally different types of sites. They are straight up news sites. That's not really what Screen Rant is. So it's kind of unfair to try to compare them as such. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's see. Joshua Stevens writes, even after the new Deadpool last trailer, I'm still more excited to see Solo. At the end of the day, though, this will be an epic year for movies. Hey, you know what? I was not excited to see Solo at all. In as much that anything beyond it being a Star Wars movie. It's a Star Wars movie, so I have an automatic built-in level of excitement, but nothing beyond that. It's a movie I didn't ask for. All the drama going on behind the scenes of it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because it's a Star Wars movie, but really no excitement beyond that. This last trailer for Solo changed that for me. I'm now excited for Solo. I'm excited to see this movie now, where I really wasn't all that excited before. It's tough though, man. Solo, I mean, everybody's talking, because they do open so close to each other, Solo and Deadpool 2. Honestly, if I got an invite to the world premiere of Deadpool and an invite to the world premiere Solo, and the world premieres were on the same night, I honestly don't know which one I'd go to. I am so freaking stoked for Deadpool 2, it's crazy. Again, what Reynolds has done with this franchise and what he's done with this character is, I now put Ryan Reynolds, there's a holy trinity of actors who were born to play their comic book roles. You got Robert Downey Jr. as, in no particular order, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and I think you got to throw in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool now. I really do. Honorable mention to like Chris Evans as Captain America and stuff like that, but those are the ones that I would list that really were born to play their roles. But I mean, it's going to be so tough between the two of them. It's a coin toss for me right now. Because Solo I'm excited for now, and it's a Star Wars movie. Deadpool 2, the first Deadpool was so freaking amazing. It's a coin toss for me right now, which one I'm more excited about. But yeah, the last trailers for both Deadpool and Solo, just really good stuff. Really good stuff from both of them. All right, John Hine writes, thoughts on the classic Freddy Got Fingered? Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. And Tom Green, here's the funny thing. When, true story, and first of all, Tom Green's a good Canadian kid. When I moved AMC Movie News into the new studio, that then eventually became Collider and all that kind of stuff. But when I moved them into the new studio, across the hall, there were only two tenants in the building. Us on one side of the hall of this building, and across the hall was Tom Green. Tom Green had his studio set up across the hall, so that you had these two studios in this building. It was us and it was Tom Green. Never really crossed paths with him until one night we finally bumped into each other in the hallway. And Tom and I started chatting and talking, and he took me in, gave me a tour of his studio. So I brought him into our studio, gave him a tour around our studio, and we talked for a whole bunch, and it was really, really good. And we talked about doing things on each other's show, but we never got around to doing it. But really nice guy. Like sometimes you see these dudes who are like really funny on camera or whatever, but they can turn out to be really damaged, and maybe Tom's a little damaged, I don't know, but he was a super nice guy, like really friendly. Had a very good time hanging out and chatting with him and getting the tour of his place. Anyway, Freddy Got Fingered is an unmitigated disaster. I mean, everybody knows that. I think Tom Green knows that. He knows it was an unmitigated disaster. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. He's got other things, man. Check the OR. Anyway, only 10 of you out there even knew what I just was talking about. Only 10 of you knew what that reference was. He's done some great stuff. Unfortunately, Freddy Got Fingered was not one of the great things. Jordan Miller writes, morning, John. You see Infinity War in 2 days, you lucky SOB. Good luck. Trying to sleep tomorrow night. I would be up like a kid waiting for Santa. Oh, dude, make no mistake about it. I'm super excited. Sorry, there's like a 30-second delay on the show, so I just saw myself doing the check the OR, and I'm trying to see if any of you guys actually knew the reference. I'm not seeing anybody putting in the live chat board that they knew the reference. I knew this because, like I said, there's probably only like 10 of you guys out there that know it. Anyway, so yeah, I'm damn excited. One of the only, this is true, the only clothing that is still over at our old place right now is Anne's dress for Monday night, because she didn't even want to move it. She didn't want to move it and risk something happening to it. It is still hanging in Anne's closet at the old place. It's still hanging there. I mean, we still have possession of our place until the end of the month. So we still have possession of the place for another week and a bit. So she's leaving that there. Then Monday, she's going to go over there in the afternoon, carefully by itself, bring it over and get dressed. And yeah, we are. And I think I might go buy a new suit. I bought a new suit 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And the time I bought a suit before that was 10 years before that. I don't wear suits. But I might go out and buy myself a new suit for the Infinity War. For the Infinity War thing. I might do that. Let's see. Brian Rogers writes, what did you think of each of the 3 monsters in Rampage? They look great. They look great. They were fun. I've made Lizzie the biggest and most powerful one, but Lizzie looked great. Ralph looked great. George looked great. I thought they all looked great. It was great, cheesy fun. It was really great, cheesy fun. So I thought they looked fantastic. I really did. And I think if they were used in a more serious movie, that could have been fun too, but I thought they worked really well. Let's see. Jordan Miller writes, who you got going to the NBA Finals? Already kind of answered that. It won't happen, but I pray the Pelicans can pull off the impossible. Fear the brow. Yeah, no. This won't be the Pelicans' year, clearly. But as I get right now, I think there are several combinations that could happen. Everything from another Golden State versus Cleveland final, or Indiana. Man, they have figured out. They seem to have figured out the Cleveland Cavalier puzzle. And nobody saw them leading that, and they're leading that series now. So it could be anywhere from Houston Rockets to Toronto. I really don't see anybody else in the East other than Toronto or Cleveland coming out of the East. It's going to be one of the two of them. And it's going to be either Golden State or Houston, but I really do think it's going to be Houston, Toronto. But it also could be Golden State and the Cleveland Cavaliers again. It could be those two teams again. And once again, LeBron James is showing why he's the greatest player on the planet, and there's an argument to be made for the greatest player of all time. Once again, last night, in a losing effort, the team lost, but he's carrying the whole team. He led the team again in points, rebounds, and assists. He's carrying the entire team on his shoulder. You never see Steph Curry leading his team in points and rebounds and assists. You never see Steph Curry doing that. LeBron James does it all. And most nights, he leads his team in all 3 categories. Points, assists, and rebounds. Crazy. I mean, it's insane how much he carries that team. But no one guy, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Michael Jordan. I don't care if you're LeBron James. No one guy can do it by himself. And you're not going to get by a team like Toronto. You're not going to get by a team like Golden State. You're not going to get by a team like the Houston Rockets when it's one guy against the world. It's just not going to happen. Yes, we've seen LeBron James do it before, but for the most part, you can't do it by yourself. And it's not a good thing, man, when the one guy is having to carry the whole team. So again, I'm going to go Houston-Toronto. I think Houston-Toronto is the finals. Andrew Gifford writes, David Peoples, who wrote Blade Runner and Soldier with Kurt Russell, considers the films to be a shared universe. Did you know this? Nope, but ultimately it doesn't care what he thinks. It only matters what the rights holder to the films think. So that's cool that he looks at it and kind of considers a shared universe. And I've never thought of it that way because so clearly I've never heard of this before. But just off the top of my head, yeah, there are ways you could say that, right? There are ways you can make that make sense. I mean, I don't subscribe to it myself, but maybe if I watch the 2 films again back to back, I would go, oh my God, they do feel like a shared universe. But Ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think. And as funny as it is, it ultimately doesn't matter what the writer thinks. All that matters is what the rights holder thinks. That's really the only thing that matters. But it's been so long since I've seen either of those two films that I can't even really give an educated kind of thought as to how well connected they could theoretically be or not, because it's just been too long since I've seen either. Mr. Spider 336 writes, finals week, but Thursday is Infinity War, hashtag Destiny still arrives. I tolerated someone's phone on in Black Panther, but if I see one on in Infinity War, I will personally crush it. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a movie theater chain in the LA area, and I don't know how far outside of LA goes, but it's kind of like the premier theater chain in LA, and it's ArcLight. Okay, that's the name of it. Probably the most popular theater in Los Angeles is the ArcLight Hollywood. And it's right in Hollywood, ArcLight Theater. They're a great theater chain. They do many, many things very, very well. Anyway, one of the things that they do at ArcLight, and I wish more theaters did this, is just before a movie starts, a staff member comes into the theater, stands at the front, and welcomes everybody. Thank you for choosing ArcLight. You know, they welcome everybody, say, this, you're about to watch this. It has a runtime of this, so they tell people to know how long to expect the movie to be. And they also throw in there that, hey, please, everybody, do not distract the rest of the audience. Please turn off your phones. And you know what? I find even just a little thing like that, like a human being standing at the front saying, hey, everybody, can you please not use your phones? I find just a little thing like that goes a long way. And then they go on to say, I am going to stay in the theater for the first 5 minutes of the movie to make sure that the picture and sound are up to our standards, and then I'm going to leave. Because how many times have we all been in a movie theater where something goes wrong and it takes 15 or 20 minutes before the theater even realizes something's wrong, right? But they go, we're going to stay in the movie theater here for the first 5 minutes just to ensure everything's running properly. And if you have any problems, please don't hesitate to find us, a staff member, blah, blah, blah. But I find that one little thing of them just standing at the front, having a real human being stand at the front, not a pre-recorded message, although I think pre-recorded messages help too, but having an actual person standing there and saying, hey folks, please don't use your phones. Please turn your phones off. If you can't turn them off, if you gotta check it, please quietly stand up and leave the theater and check it. You know, I just find that goes a long way. So maybe that's why I've had like less situations like that as other people have. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, folks, don't pull your phone out during Infinity War. Please don't pull your phone out during Infinity War. Boy Shuang Sang writes, have you heard of Jordan Peterson? If yes, your 2 cents on him. For me, he's a living legend in what he does. Like you. Oh, thank you so much. Also legend in what you do. If you're talking about like the psychiatrist, psychotherapist dude, the Canadian, I can't even remember exactly what it is he does. If that's what you're talking about, I have heard of him. I really don't know anything about him, though. Just to be honest and frank with you, I don't really know anything about him other than the fact that he's like psychology. He's a clinical psychologist, I think, off the top of my head. But other than that, I really don't know anything else about him. So I don't really have any input on that. Sorry about that, man. But I have heard of him, if I'm even thinking of the right guy. I could totally be thinking of the wrong guy. Okay, sorry. Had a big jump here. Got to scroll back. Okay, here we are. KW Garrett writes, in Justice League opening, a bum holds a sign saying, I tried, while Whedon's writing credits is on the screen. Hilarious coincidence or message to the fans? I don't recall. I mean, I remember obviously the sign saying I tried. It's a very moving image, actually. It's quite a moving image. I like that imagery very, very much. I did not notice that that's the moment that Joss Whedon's writing credit came up. I think it is a total coincidence, especially since Joss Whedon was directing the film when the final assembly cut was put together. So if it wasn't a coincidence, it was Joss Whedon sending out a message to the audience, listen folks, I inherited a mess, I tried. I did my best to fix it. Maybe that's true. I think my next door neighbor is doing some renovations because I can hear power saws going, so forgive me if you can hear power saws. They got a lot of work going on outside. Anyway, so I think it was a coincidence. I'm going to go with coincidence on that for now. But I've never even noticed it. That's a great observation, man. All right, Dakota Barber writes, also, hope you have fun at Infinity War premiere on Monday. Do you know when the social media embargo for the movie ends? Yes, the social media embargo ends as soon as the movie's over. Monday night is when the social media embargo ends. So as soon as I'm able to come out of that movie theater, I'm going to be able to tweet my my reaction to it. So that's when it ends. Also, want to remind everybody, make sure you're keeping an eye on my social media on Monday night, because before the movie starts, Ann and I are going to go down into Hollywood maybe like an hour and a half before the movie starts. And I'm going to take some live video. I'm going to do a little bit of live streaming with my phone on the YouTube channel. I'm going to walk you guys around Hollywood and show you, because when Disney does a big premiere in Hollywood, quite often they will really do the place up. Like they'll put out big street decorations and huge, like just huge things, right? So I'm going to walk around, do some live streaming from down there, show you guys the setup, show you guys everything that they're doing, and take a whole ton of pictures and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to bring you there with me. Now, unfortunately, once I walk into the theater, they take our phones, which is totally understandable. I get it. So I'm not going to be able to do any pictures from inside. But here's the other thing. Once the movie's over, make sure you follow me again, because there's the after party. And they always do big, huge things with their after party. So I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures. I'll probably do some quick YouTube video, whatever. So make sure you're following me Monday night. Keep an eye on your social media pings on Monday night for when I'm getting there and when I'm coming out. And there'll be some good stuff there. All right, at least as good as I can do. Here's hoping my phone service works well when I'm down there. Andrew Giffen writes, someone you know for comedy, you want to do horror. You know, Mike Myers would do interesting in horror. I think Mike Myers would be interesting in horror. So I'll go with that. I just watched So I Married an Axe Murderer again last night. God, I love that movie. So maybe Mike Myers doing horror. That would be interesting. All right. Mr. Spider 336 writes, when Snoke says hope lives in the galaxy, Ben comes into frame. Coincidence? I think not. Absolutely coincidence. Absolutely coincidence. Kylo's not the hope for the galaxy. So no, I disagree with you on that. I mean, maybe you're right, but I completely disagree. I think that was absolute coincidence. A good observation, but I do completely believe that that was completely coincidental at the same time. All right, Henry Gomez writes, a month ago, Infinity War was confirmed to be an hour and 56 minutes. Now, the British Board of Film Classification says 149 minutes. On Google, it says 160 minutes. So which is it? I don't know. Let me see here. Infinity War runtime. Now, Google is saying 2 hours and 40 minutes, so that's 160. Let me see what IMDb is saying. Hold on a second. Infinity War, IMDb. IMDb is saying that the runtime is 2 hours and 29 minutes. So IMDb is saying it's 149 minutes. So yeah, I don't know. Look, I have no reason. I'll go with IMDb on that. I'm going to guess it's probably 2 hours and 29 minutes. So 149 minutes, probably. So basically 2.5 hours long. Other than that, I got no other information for it. I'll be able to tell you once I come out of the once I come out of the premiere on Monday night, I'll be able to tell you, but it's looking like it's 2.5 hours. 2 hours and 29 minutes, just shy of 2.5 hours. All right. Ben Rayner writes, finally saw Ready Player One. Awesome. One of the best F-bombs in a PG-13 movie. Yes, it was. That was a great F-bomb, actually. Perfectly placed F-bomb. Tied with Wolverine in First Class for me. What's your favorite F-bomb in a PG-13 movie? I mean, I don't know. That's way too broad of a question, Ben. That's something I don't keep a list in my head of. Best F-bomb. I would have to sit down and go through it. Again, I just watched So I Married an Axe Murderer last night, and there is a great F-bomb in that. Now, when that movie came out, and Want to feel old? So I Married an Axe Murderer came out 25 years ago. Oh my God. 25 years ago. Anyway. So I don't think there was a PG-13 rating around 25 years ago. Anyway. But I think the movie was PG. Hilarious F-bomb in that. I don't think that movie was rated R. Hilarious single shot F-bomb in that one as well. I'm going to go, off the top of my head, I'm going to go with the one in X-Men First Class with Wolverine. I'm going to go with that one. Although the one in Ready Player One was really, really good. I'll go with the one with Wolverine dropping it in X-Men First Class. That to me, because it was completely out of nowhere too. Completely shocking. Let's see. Mystery Men is based on Flaming Carrot comic book. Never heard of Flaming Carrot, so I don't know if that's true or not. If it is, that's an interesting fact. I love Mystery Men. Jeremiah J. writes, did you ever tell anyone what your DC secret was? Nope, not even going to address it. There is one person I told, but I'm not going to tell you who. Cole Scott writes, what makes Return of the Jedi your favorite Star Wars movie? Well, I mean, Cole, I'm not going to go into it in depth here, but I've mentioned it many times. Greatest space battle of all time. The whole Emperor throne room, greatest segment in all of the Star Wars things. I love the Ewok stuff. I thought the Ewok stuff was wonderful. The escape from Jabba's palace stuff, amazing. And it's a wonderful conclusion. So I could go on and on and on about it, but those are things which I've talked about many times. Those are just some of the highlights as to why. The Halo Brony writes, my friends are going to have a Star Wars themed party on May the 5th. Big mistake, I told them, but they could not hire the bar on Friday. That's fine. Look, people have birthday parties 3 days after their birthday or 1 week before their birthday all the time. It's about scheduling. Scheduling matters. So you can have a Star Wars May the 4th party on May 5th. That's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. If that's what they could do, you don't cancel the whole thing just because you couldn't get the bar. You do it anyway and you call it a Star Wars theme party. I'm all for it. Don't give them a hard time for that, Halo Brony. I think it's perfectly legitimate that they're doing that. Let's see. ZOMG Ruler writes, seeing Canadian band Sum 41 this Friday. I didn't even know they were still playing together. They have been around a long time. Sum 41 have been around a long time. Like I said, man, I didn't even know they were still in existence. So that's pretty cool that they are. And they're a good band. At least they were like 20 years ago, but they're a good band. CJ Adams writes, do you think we could ever have a Skyrim movie? You could. It's possible. Don't need one, but I mean, look, here's the thing. There's lots of dragons and sword and sandal and wizard era kind of things you could do, and you don't have to call it Skyrim. Yes, Skyrim is also in that kind of motif, but you don't need for it to be Skyrim to use that exact same motif. You know what I'm saying? So it's possible, but right now, video game movies don't do crap at the box office. So the only reason you would do it Skyrim instead of something completely different that also uses dragons and magic and sword and sandal, the only reason is for IP recognition and marketing. But none of that seems to be helping the video game genre at all. So I'm not really sure, but certainly it's possible. It is possible. I just wouldn't hold my breath about it. Piero just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Piero. Andrew Hogue writes, are you doing a rewatch of all the MCU movies? No. I recently rewatched Civil War. I rewatched Age of Ultron. And I'm probably going to do a rewatch of First Avenger, but I'm not doing a rewatch of all. I just don't have time for that. I simply don't have time, and it's not necessary. I've seen them all so many times that I can recite them. So no need for me to do a complete rewatch before Infinity War. Daniel Quinta writes, you're the best, John. Thank you so much, Daniel. You've gotten me to love films, and I can't thank you enough for my new passion. That, honestly, Daniel, is the greatest compliment you could give. Thank you. Because as somebody who loves film and loves the movies and loves the movie fan community, what I want more than anything else is to get other people to love movies or deepen their appreciation or their love for movies and to get them more connected, not with me, but with the movie fan community, to get even more plugged in with the movie fan community. Because the movie fan community, when it's healthy, is the most fun, amazing thing. So thank you so much for sharing that, Daniel. I really appreciate that. Rob Turner writes, I got about 10 minutes left here, guys. Rob Turner writes, Avengers base in Norwich, Burbank Geek Landmark. I'm not quite sure what it is you're saying, Rob. Avengers base in Norwich, Burbank Geek Landmark. I'm sorry. I apologize, Rob. I'm not really clear on what it is you're asking. Sorry about that, man. History Soup. Fox, Lucifer, and CD Lucifer fight. Winner. CW's Lucifer. Lucifer in Fox is my favorite character, but he's not portrayed as being all that powerful. Lucifer in Supernatural is portrayed as being very powerful. So if they had a fight, probably CW's Lucifer wins. But if you ask me which is the better character, the Fox Lucifer is by far the better character. Trent Stewart writes, Thanos is kind of a dick. No kidding. If he was a cool villain, he'd use that time stone to fast forward us to next Thursday. Very clever, Trent. Very clever. That's right. He is a dick. Damn you, Thanos. But there's something to be said about the anticipation of it all, isn't there? There's something to be said about how much anticipation we get to have and enjoy and build up to, right? So there's all that too. But yes, I mean, I can't get here fast enough. But again, I get to see it on Monday. Super excited. Cannot wait to share my thoughts with you guys. Okay, by the way, guys, I'm going to let you guys know something. So, I have been saying that I'm going to do my open discussion, 2-hour spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War on Saturday. So that gives everybody Thursday night, gives them Friday matinees, Friday night, Saturday matinees, and then we're going to do the spoiler review. I've had 1 or 2 people ask if I could push that spoiler review to Sunday. I'm considering that. I think Saturday's better, but I am considering Sunday. Do me a favor. Let me know what you guys would prefer. Email me if you have a thought. Right now I'm planning on it Sunday later in the afternoon. But if you think I should move to Sunday, I'll consider that too. Just let me guys know what you guys think. Anyway, Scarlet Witch's husband writes, I think a team of Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Valkyrie, Captain Marvel, Okoye, Shuri, Gamora, Nebula, Wasp, and Sharon Carter would make a great all-female Avengers movie. What do you think? Well, you can't do Sharon Carter because she's dead. Oh, no, Sharon Carter. No, okay, yeah, the niece. Yeah, you could or couldn't use her. I don't know about that. I don't expect all of them to be alive by the time Avengers 4 is done. Valkyrie, Captain Marvel, sure. I don't think you'd see Okoye or Shuri in that. Gamora and Nebula are too tied in with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think what your real options are Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Wasp, Valkyrie. I think that's, I don't think you'd see Okoye, Shuri, Gamora, or Nebula in that because they're all just too separate. They're too separated out. The other ones I think you could see doing that. And look, we've heard Kevin Feige talk about the fact that Tessa Thompson talked to him, the girl who plays Valkyrie, and talked about the idea of an all-female Avengers, an all-female MCU movie. And Kevin Feige was talking about how it was not just Tessa Thompson, it was a bunch of the other characters as well, female characters. Pitched the idea to him, and he said, I'm open to it. So it's a possibility. I don't know if it would actually happen, but it's a possibility. So keep your eyes open for that. Let's see. Tim Barnes writes, First time super chat. Oh, thanks so much for writing in, Tim. Finally able to support you. Why do you think we have not had a Thundercats live action? Too challenging, expensive, small fan base. I think it's a lot of the above. I think there are a number of properties out there. First of all, let me just say right up front, I would love a Thundercats movie. I would love it. There are a bunch of properties out there that a lot of people just assume, oh, if you do that, it would make $1 billion, when really they don't. So I think Thundercats, first of all, there's no real way to do it cheaply. It doesn't have to be a $200 million movie, but there's no way to do it cheaply. You make a Thundercats movie, even remotely right, then you're talking about a movie that would probably need to minimum make $400 million to just break even. And there's not a lot of precedent right now suggesting that that's what would happen. So it's a mixture of getting the right script, being able to do it with the right budget, and then having confidence that the market can support it. It's difficult. Believe you me, if any studio thought, oh yeah, Thundercats would make us a ton of money, it would be out like that. Like that, it would be out. But you basically nailed all the real buttons there, Tim, when you mentioned challenging, it's expensive, it's a very vocal fan base, but it's not a huge fan base. And I would also say market precedent. There's not a lot of market precedent to support the idea that it would make $400+ million. So, I still got to believe at some point we're going to get one. But I think that's why we haven't gotten one yet. So let's keep our eyes on it. Okay, R.O. Olson writes, love Peter in Deadpool going in like, I have no idea what I signed up for, but I'll probably die. But I'm so badass. Peter has to survive for the next Deadpool. I got a feeling Peter dies in Deadpool 2. But man, look, I've said this before. Let me say it again. That was one of the best moments in any trailer ever. While a lot of people are talking about the One-Eyed Willy reference, while a lot of people are talking about the Thanos reference, while a lot of people are talking about the DC Universe reference, the best moment of that trailer, and maybe the best moment of any trailer of the past year or two, is Peter coming in and Deadpool going, you got any superpowers? Nope, I just answered the ad. And Deadpool going, you're in, and then hard cutting to Peter skydiving with the rest of X-Force. That cut at that moment is one of the best moments of any trailer I've seen the last calendar year. It's so amazing. And I think it was that moment that made Peter the sensation of the internet right now. It was a brilliant, brilliant moment, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, let's move on here. Tested says, go Flyers, dominated the first period in Game 5. Actually, that series is turning out to be far more interesting than I thought. Far more. I honestly thought Pittsburgh was going to win that series 4-1. And it's already, look, Flyers are still in this series. They're still in this series. And I never would have thought that. So they have put up a legit fight. I mean, good on them for that. I still think Pittsburgh's going to win the series, but I honestly thought it'll be a sweep or 4-1. Probably 4-1, possibility for a sweep, and the Flyers have put up a much better fight than I anticipated, or that anybody anticipated. Okay, final question of the day comes to us from Frank and Beans, who writes, happy Saturday, John. 2 questions. Have you heard about Spider-Man 2? The Man and the Iron Man's very funny. What happens if Netflix buys movie theater chains? First of all, Netflix doesn't have the money to buy movie theater chains. First, 2 reasons why that would never happen. Number 1, Netflix does not have the money to buy movie theater chains. They just don't have it. Number 2, running a movie theater chain is a razor-thin margin business. They would simply never be able to financially handle running a movie theater chain. They just wouldn't be able to handle it. So, number 1, they would never have the capital to buy it. Number 2, they just, because like Netflix is losing money right now. Netflix is losing money right now. It's like this company cranks out $12 billion a year of revenue. How they are not making profit is completely beyond me. But apparently, from every report I've read, they're not making profit. Ergo, they don't have flexible capital to go out and make a $7 billion purchase of a movie theater chain. So that's probably not happening. And even if they did have the capital, it would be a horrible investment for them because they would just lose money on it. So it's an interesting concept, but they would lose money completely. And if they wanted to put their original movies in their own theaters while also streaming on Netflix, then they're going to lose even more money because who's going to go to their movie theaters just to watch when they can just sit at home and watch their originals at home? So it's an impossible scenario. I just don't see any way that could possibly happen. All right. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic, guys. Hey, listen, if any of you sent in live questions that I have not had time to get around to, don't worry. I'm going to copy and paste those over and do them in the next companion video, probably coming today. I meant to have one up this morning, but again, the move has just dominated all of my time. And like when I say to Ann, okay, so I think I'm going to, in an hour, I'm going to go do a little bit of work. And Ann goes, no, you're not. You're unpacking the spare bedroom. Then I'm unpacking the spare bedroom, clearly. But I think today, Ann's going out today to go to a family function with her mom. So I'm going to have time today to do a companion video. So I'll take all those questions that you guys sent in that I did not have time to get around to, and I'm going to put them in the companion video this afternoon. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of it. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, which will probably be a little bit later this afternoon, bye-bye.